Okay, hopefully this video will not be garbage and I'll have to film it again. But hi guys, it's Erin and happy Black History Month! I'm sorry if I seem a little bit frazzled, like literally right before I pressed record, I got asked out on a date. And that doesn't usually happen. Well, it does happen, but by like creepy men. Like creepy older men. Today is going to be a bit more of a chatty writing video because one, the next 3 videos that I have planned out have shot lists, so yay, more weird sketches and other creative endeavors that I want to try out. And also because it has been exactly 1 month since I published Truth Weekend, which is the story that we will be referencing in this video. My little novelette info will always be in the description. And because the other day in the mail I got this awesome sweatshirt designed by my editor Brittany. It's based off of a sweater that my character Skye wears in the story, and it says, "What if you're the myth?" and it has 2 unicorns on it, except in the story the sweatshirt is actually blue and the unicorns are kissing. But I love it and it's huge, and I had to bind it up a little bit in the back because I am swimming in it. I'm constantly still thinking about the story, and I'm currently trying to turn it into a screenplay, and it taught me some things, as I think that every creative endeavor should. So I thought that I would tell you a couple of the writing tips and tricks and things that Truth Weekend forced me into. Number 1, everything matters. Every scene, every conversation, every chaste, weird look that characters give each other. There's no reason in just having some awkward filler section just because you think that something should be there. Truth Weekend started off as a little idea I had for your standard 7 to 10 page short story, like 3,000 words long, about the ugly truths that we struggle with admitting to ourselves, let alone another person that we may be interested in. And of course, this got out of hand, and 3,000 words turned into 5,000, and then 10,000, and then 12,000, and it became far too long to be considered a short story. Because the story takes place in only a weekend, hence it being called Truth Weekend, I still wanted it to be this tightly compact, almost like claustrophobic snapshot of where these 2 girls are, and for it to just be this explosion of emotion. Because in a short piece of fiction, we don't have time to linger and then slowly build. And since these girls hate each other, it gave me the incentive to make every single little thing that they said escalate the scene. It's either gonna piss one of them off or make them grow closer, and then that closeness only complicates the parts of themselves that wants to push the other's buttons. My babies. So in closing with this little point, being conscious of having to trim the fat and only keeping what I think is interesting really made the writing process better. A little bit more tedious, but better, because I didn't have to worry about these boring scenes, and I think that that's going to help me write my novel and just trim all of this useless garbage that the audience wouldn't care about, but I think kind of needs to be there. No, stop torturing yourself. Only put in the most interesting stuff that you think needs to be there. Another thing that I learned is to allow my story to evolve into something that I didn't expect and that I didn't meticulously plan out. It's okay to let go of the thing that clearly isn't working. Something else that also helped me move on was listening to music that is outside my usual taste. Thank you, Pandora. It also helped me pick a lot of the aesthetics and the color schemes of the story, and really influenced how it made me dress Rosie and how it made then Rosie dress her character in her short film. So I was on, I think it was the Maria Mena station, and then all of a sudden I hear the song by The Innocence Mission called Today, and then it just sparked so many ideas. I'm gonna leave a little playlist of songs that I actually ended up using to craft this story because I think it's awesome, and I actually named Rosie's short film after The Innocence Mission because it helped me out so much. Also, some Frank Ocean will be on that playlist because self-control ruined my life and inspired the entire 3rd act. So, too many emotions. Too many Frank. When I first started writing the story, I thought that it would be about obsession. If you read it now, it is not about that. I mean, it's up for the reader's interpretation now. If you find hints of obsession, then awesome, and that's your interpretation. But through time, I figured out that self-sabotage was a much more prevalent topic. That, along with unhealthy coping mechanisms, and then finding the darker, snarkier side of Skye's personality. That brings me to my next point. Number 3, if you will. It would be awesome if I could bullet point all of this, but yeah, that's what happens in a very chatty video, and it's gonna be a nightmare for me to edit this. But number 3, and probably the biggest lesson that I learned throughout all of this, is don't judge your characters. They're human, and they're not going to be these perfect, wonderful angels all the time. They're allowed to be ugly, just like all of us, and they're allowed to make mistakes and have really bad qualities, like all of us do. And sugarcoating my characters wasn't even a thing that I was conscious of doing. I think in the back of my mind, I still kind of wanted them to be likable, even though, as presented in the story, they're not instantly likable people like most humans. My main character, Skye, has such a dark and cynical voice. Literally, the opening line is, "Maybe I wanted to hurt someone." Like, how fucked up is that? Also, we do get a fuck in, like, the first, paragraph or so. However, I was afraid to put all of this darkness and mystery into action. It's like that character in a movie where everyone's like, "Oh my god, they're such a skilled inventor," but, you know, you never get to see them invent. So really, I had to get off of my high horse because the story isn't about me. I had to stop saying, "Oh, well, I would never say that." Girl, the story is not about you. It doesn't matter what you would say. It's about what Skye would say. Just because I wouldn't do this thing doesn't mean that Skye and Rosie can't. After the first draft, I usually know the gist of what characters need to say in a scene, but it always takes me a couple drafts to actually hear them and how they would articulate the thing. And once I stopped judging my girls, it made the range of what they could say that much more grand and truthful and more interesting. This made me love my characters that much more, especially Rosie, because I think that we see stories like this from a girl like Rosie's point of view. You know, like the pretty blonde, like wide-eyed girl who just wants to make films, and then she goes off and meets the bad, like, manic pixie lesbian who teaches her to live on the wild side and take life by the balls, and that is why it is not in Rosie's point of view. Also, Skye is bisexual. I'm not sure why I said manic pixie lesbian, although that could be a good idea for a sketch. I always knew that Rosie was trying to, in a lot of ways, subvert the image that she's made for herself, or that her family has made for herself, and really uncovering her true hurt beyond what is said in the beginning of the story that is kind of a spoiler. So that's what I had to get back to. I had to get back to what was really hurting her, and not dumb her down to what, like, her stereotype could be. Because honestly, being conventionally attractive and being, like, so deeply unhappy is not mutually exclusive, no matter how quirky your coping mechanisms are. They're still hurting you either way. My last thing is just to write your unapologetic story, and the story that is in your heart, not the squeaky clean, unfun draft that your grandma wants to read out loud at bingo night, whatever the hell that means. What am I pulling from? This is a thing that I've been struggling with for years. I mean, not in, like, fan fiction, because then I had a pen name, but it's like whenever I was writing, I could always hear, like, my parents or, you know, someone to that effect, like, in my ear being like, "Oh, no, you can't write that because that's too graphic, that's too dirty," or, you know, what have you. All the things that aren't, like, squeaky clean, you know? So I never truthfully wrote what I wanted to write in anything before this, which is really scary to think about, and which made putting out the story so scary for me. And I tried to write the story that was, you know, none approved. But I hated it. And it wasn't the story that was in my heart. The only downside is having like really weird conversations about sexuality with my grandma. She called my dad warning him about the story and being like, you know, it does get a little sexual in there. Okay, so I just want to prepare you. You know, your little girl has grown up, and you know, there's 2 women, so you know, prepare yourself. I am now in the business of making big, scary life decisions in the year of 2017. Lots going on. I got an agent, not a literary agent, like an acting agent, but life is good, and I can't wait to see what else happens. I think that that's it, and the sun is now going down because it gets dark at like 4 p.m. Also, my dog needs to go out. He's been such a good boy. Hasn't run across the screen one single time. So, thank you so much for watching this rambly, awful video. I hope you like my shirt. Brittany spent a good amount of time on it with my little unicorns. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see all of you lovely people in my next video. Go right! Stop procrastinating! I am so hungry. Go on then!